Distinguished guests, friends, and family, men and women of the 116th Air Control Squadron, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Thanks for setting aside time to recognize Chief Master Sgt. Stanley Brawley's 23 years of service in the U.S. military. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Ashley Nowak, Commander of the 116th Air Control Squadron, and it is an honor and a privilege to be able to speak on behalf of the Long Racks about Chief Brawley's career, service, and impact on this unit. I hope that those of you watching today, if you have not already, will take the time to reach out to Chief Brawley and congratulate him on his retirement and thank him for the positive impacts he had on this organization and beyond. I would like to specifically recognize Trudy, Stan's wife and partner for 30 years this January. Congratulations on that, by the way. Trudy, you married Stan at the end of his reserve time in the U.S. Navy, pregnant with Luke, and the two of you started a family in between Stan's reserve time and joining the Air National Guard. Essentially, neither of you had any downtime as just a couple without the military or children. Additionally, not only have you supported Stan throughout his entire career in the Air National Guard, you raised and supported 3 children who all are or have been affiliated with the military. Second Lieutenant Luke Brawley is serving in the 116th today. Samantha married John, who is currently serving in the Air Force at Hanscom Air Force Base. And Joseph served in the Army as a mechanic for 4 years, deploying to South Korea for a year. Since the military is unlike any other occupation, requiring sacrifices to time with family and sacrifices in the pursuit of individual goals, as a wife and mother, you also shared in these sacrifices by continuing to nurture, guide, and support all of your family members. I don't take that for granted, and I know Stan doesn't either. Thank you for all that you have done throughout Stan's career. Luke, Samantha, Joseph, I would also like to recognize your support and service. Whether you completed your service, Joseph, are supporting a partner who is currently serving, Samantha, or are currently serving yourself, Luke. I hope that you recognize and are proud of your contributions to the safety and security of our home and future way of life. For all of us, serving means raising our hand, volunteering to attend and complete training, maintaining a level of personal readiness above the rest of the population. For most of us, serving also means following through on a commitment to serve overseas when called upon. However, there are some individuals that deserve distinguished recognition based not necessarily on length of service or rank obtained, or even the number of deployments completed. These individuals take service to another level, that of service to other individual members. We recognize Stan today not only because he achieved 23 years of service, the highest enlisted rank of Chief Master Sergeant, but also because of the quality of his engagements with those whom he served. Stan saw the value in each of you, your inherent contribution as a human being, your ability to pursue efforts towards personal and professional goals. He helped you capitalize on mistakes, learning from them in an effort to be more capable, competent, positively contributing member of the team. Stan led by example, showing others how to solve problems, having solved many of his own over the years, and in helping others recover from their own mistakes, all of us felt supported and confident to go forth and conquer, knowing that we could find solutions to any challenge we encountered. Some of you may remember Ken Arnst, who had some obstacles to overcome. The support and honesty that Stan provided to Ken helped him turn his life around, and Ken commissioned a few months ago, after which he sent his commissioning coin to Stan with a note that read, "As iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another." There are many of you watching today that feel the same as Ken due to your interactions with Stan. For these reasons, everyone went to Chief Brawley. The man was busy with personnel all day, and while I only witnessed this norm for 1 year, I'm confident this was a trend throughout Chief's career as others gravitated towards his humbleness, ability to listen, and ability to focus on the positive aspects of a challenging situation. You went to Chief not because you wanted to be told what you wanted to hear, not because he would solve your problem for you, not because he would take a lot off your plate, although he did have a tendency to do that. You went to Chief Brawley because you wanted to be better, and you knew Chief would help you get there without making you feel less of a person for not being there yet. You went to Chief Brawley because he did a lot more listening than talking. Call it leaving it better than you found it, if you like, but that is service. Imagine if everywhere Long Racks went, they left that place just a little bit better. Or wherever a U.S. service member went, he or she left that place just a little bit better. Over time, the reputation of anyone on that team, be it any new member of the Long Racks or any Air Guard man or woman, would benefit from that hard-earned reputation. Stan, the 116th has an extraordinary reputation, and you were pivotal in building and maintaining it. Like many of us, Stan came from a tradition of family military service, and he is proud to be part of that tradition as well as see his children continue it. Both of Stan's grandfathers served in World War II. One grandfather served as a gunner's mate during the war. His father served in Vietnam, and his father-in-law was in the Navy. Stan enlisted in the Navy in 1988, serving 3 years active time and 3 years reserve time as a yeoman on the USS Thomas S. Gates out of Norfolk, Virginia during the late 80s, and then serving in a construction battalion out of Sandpoint Naval Station in Seattle, Washington in the early 90s. Because we are so young and so new to the service during our first assignments, we do not often realize the importance and impact of what we were doing at the time. For Stan, the highlight of his active Navy time was being part of the first U.S. warships to visit the seaport at Sevastopol on the Black Sea in 1989 when Russia was still the Soviet Union. Sevastopol at the time was normally a closed city, even for Soviets, but it opened gates wide to greet American sailors. You have to understand, for Americans to visit us is about the same as if Martians visited you, said a Soviet Navy officer who wanted to remain unnamed. Stan had that experience, so never underestimate the power of certain events that you're involved in. Like many of us, life happens and we set new goals. Once completing his time in the Navy, Stan used the next decade to start and grow a family, become a cook, and run his own businesses in property management and carpet cleaning. When September 11th, 2001 occurred, Stan joined the Air National Guard shortly thereafter in 2003, where he served for the last 17 years. The 116th was fortunate to have had Chief Brawley for all 17 of his Air National Guard career. Stan started as a supply specialist in the 116th, having gone TDY to Jackson, Wyoming in 2005 before cross-training into logistics plans in 2006. As the unit's sole loggie, Stan deployed 2 times, first to the 71st Expeditionary Air Control Squadron in Koraya Airfield, West Iraq in 2008, and then again to the 71st Expeditionary Air Control Squadron in 2011 as a supply specialist in Qatar. Stan took on a 3rd deployment in 2015 as a battle staff coordinator assigned to the 727th Expeditionary Air Control Squadron in the United Arab Emirates after having cross-trained again into operations in 2014 to take on the operations superintendent and then operations chief enlisted manager positions for the squadron. Yet, if you were to ask Stan what he's most proud about his service, he would tell you that providing disaster relief right here in our home state of Oregon during the 2007 storm was where he felt he did the most good and had the most impact. In December of 2007, a monster storm was headed towards the coast of Oregon. A double whammy of a winter storm, news reported, It was expected to create a once-in-a-decade winter snowstorm followed by high winds and rain so severe the National Weather Service said it might issue its first hurricane wind warning for sustained winds of 90 to 100 miles per hour. This storm caused hundreds of millions of dollars in damage, killed 18 people, and led 9 counties in Oregon and 10 in Washington to declare federal disaster areas. Households and businesses had no electricity, running water, and faced extreme flooding. The 116th at the time provided generators and water to multiple sites, indeed saving actual human lives by delivering power to a dialysis center and water to the Jewel area. While these sorts of storms hopefully only come once along every decade or less, each of you stand ready to support the communities in which we live. Never underestimate the potential you have to significantly affect someone else's life, your neighbor's life. During natural disasters such as the storm of 2007, our squadron is capable of providing power, light, heat, and life. But we can't do it without people like Stan, who voluntarily choose to serve their community when disaster strikes. We could continue to list Stan's accomplishments, and there are many, but there's no greater testimony of his leadership than of those with whom he served and worked. I invite you to share some personal anecdotes with Stan at a time and space that communicates your gratitude. Don't wait too long if you're hoping to catch Stan in person. He and Trudy have plans. The couple currently feel the timing might be right to tour the country in a motorhome, visiting some of the country's national parks, as well as connecting with family and friends. Stan, you may be able to travel across the country, but people still know how to find you. Chief Brawley, you have successfully led and mentored the airmen in the 116th, but more importantly, you fostered many relationships that will stay with you long after you begin this new chapter of your life. Folks are gonna call you for advice. I also want you to know that you are still part of the Lonrax family and are welcome back here anytime. Thank you again for 23 years of distinguished service to the United States Air Force, the Air National Guard, our federal and state governments. Our nation and the state of Oregon are grateful.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to help me celebrate my career. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Stan Brawley. I was Chief Master Sgt Stan Brawley up until April 30th of this year, at which time I was retired. So today we're going to be doing a little unceremony. We're going to talk about my career. I'm going to do a few thanks, and we're going to kind of wrap up a 17-year career in the Oregon National Guard. First off, I just wanted to share with you why I did not want to do a traditional ceremony. Number one, it wasn't possible. There was only 10 people allowed in a room, and for me that just wasn't acceptable because most of you could not be there. So I thought, if I can't do that, then I would rather just make some comments and share those with everyone. So first off, I just want to give some thanks. Thanks number one goes to God for giving me the perseverance and the strength to do this for many years, and certainly God is at the core of who I am. Secondly, to my wife Trudy, she has just been the rock throughout my entire career. Without her, none of this would have been possible. And then to my children, to Luke, Samantha, and Joe, they've been so supportive over the years. And when I first came to the Guard in 2003, it was a family decision. We all decided that it was okay for Dad to go in the Guard. There's a long list of people I should be thanking, and if I don't mention your name here, it's not because I don't appreciate what you've done for me in the years, but I could be droning on for a very long time, thanking so many people. So I'm just going to thank a few, and then I'm going to move on to the kind of the focus of what I wanted to talk about. But first off, when it comes to being a chief, Colonel Mitchell and Chief Master Sgt Berman, my predecessor, you know, they're the two people that kind of led me down this path and had faith in me that I could be the chief in operations. And for them, I am truly thankful. You know, without them, I wouldn't be here. To Colonel Hablis, who kind of completed that process, and I became Chief Master Sergeant under her. And then to Colonel Nowak, who just has been so trusting of me during these troubled times of COVID, and you know, while she was at school and stuff, it's been an honor to serve under her. To my two right-hand people, to Autumn Kerlock and Anthony Hansen, you know, both in CSS and operations. Without them, I could not have done the job that I did, and I just thank you guys so much. I forgot to mention DJ under Colonel Havis, because he was definitely a huge part of getting me to chief as well there. So thank you, DJ. Didn't mean to leave you out. And then of course Chief Wilcox and Chief Bozine, who both were also at the core of helping me to make that step. Just thank you guys so much. And just to so many others over the years. And I'll mention a few of you during the other portion of my talk here, but you know, you've all helped me in so many ways, and just thank you so much for just being there and helping me out. So really the focus of what I wanted to talk about is my shadow box, and it ended up being just a huge endeavor for me to you know, a lot of time and thought that went into putting it together, and what did I want my career on the wall to look like. And it wasn't really so much about my ribbons and ranks and all that stuff, but about the memories and the people involved in my life during my career, that I wanted to have that story. So off to my right here, we've got my shadow box, and there's a lot of story and a lot of things even about the box itself that I took time to think about. What's not present here is the glass, which I took out because it was having a big reflection in the camera. But the glass itself is actually from my house, and it was the original glass that was installed in the house in 1905. So the glass itself is over 100 years old. The wood that I made it out of is a Brazilian pine. And that was made from my kids' bunk bed when they were growing up. And I just wanted that to be kind of part of this legacy, just these different things. This wood here is actually a piece of red purple heart that my dad gave me years ago, and he's passed away. Now the flag also was a flag that I had flown when I was in Iraq, and I had given to my father, and when he passed away, I got it back, and I decided that's the flag I wanted in my box. So going up from this side and down, this is kind of my history side, and down through my legacy here. And so over here we start with my days in the Navy, and we've got the USS Thomas S. Gates Coin down here, and that represents my 6 years in the Navy and the Navy Reserve, 3 years in each. And over here we've got Petty Officer 3rd Class rank symbol, which is what I got out of the Navy as back in 1992. I joined the 116th, which is the 116th coin right there, in 2003. And then we've got my 3 deployments here back in 08, 11, and 15, which would be Iraq, Qatar, and then UAE. Then up here we have a Noble Eagle coin that represents all those other deployments that I did here in CONUS, which primarily were the ones out to Jackson Hole in support of Vice President and his stay out there. Some of the other things, I really debated not having my ribbon rack in here, because that's not really something that was maybe as important to me as others, but without that, I guess it kind of may be questionable as a shadow box. So I decided to add it in. Right up here at the top, obviously, is my name and my blues badge, and then below that is a Christian soldier coin, which, you know, again, that's kind of the core of who I am and what what everything else flows out from. Over here we've got a hood to coast finishing ribbon, and a lot of people might say, well, why in the world would you put that in your shadow box? Well, there's a good reason for that. And back in so this is a 2008 hood to coast. Prior to that, 2006 and 2007, I was having a lot of back issues, and I thought my career was maybe at an end at that point in time. And Major Barsky and Major Doyle and I and CJ and some others started doing P90X out in the South Warehouse. And back in those days, those guys were, I think, both staff sergeants, if I remember right, and amazingly, in a period of about 4 months, my back improved so much from doing P90X and good old Tony Horton that I decided to run that hood to coast. It was on the 142nd Fighter Wing hood to coast team that I got invited to run on and finished. And from that event, it inspired me, and I always had a goal to run the Portland Marathon, or a marathon, ever since high school. And over here we've got a finisher coin for the Portland Marathon in 2010, right before I went on the 2011 deployment here. So I thought my career was at an end, like I said, and it wasn't. I was able to overcome those difficulties, those challenges, physical challenges I was having, and I got a lot of stuff done physically. And then of course in 2015 we have the Air Force half marathon that I did along with a lot of other folks in UAE, which was by far the most challenging of anything, because this was done, at around about 110 degrees. That was a very challenging thing to strive for and accomplish. And you can ask a lot of the guys that went on that deployment, and I know there must have been 6 or 8 of us that actually did that half marathon. And it was tough. It was tough, but we got it done. So the reason I talk about the running physical fitness piece is because as you get older in the Guard, it becomes a lot more challenging to be able to meet these standards, even than on active duty, because a lot of those guys are much younger when they retire. But heck, an old Guard guy can stick around till he's 60. Things are more challenging as you get older, but you know what? You can overcome and you can get it done. So as we travel up the history side of my thing, we get up here to the top, and I made Chief, and that's number 224, which is my Chief's number. I was 224 Chief in the state of Oregon. And so we have my Chief coin, the unique one and only Chief coin. And then down below here, as we start my legacy side, this is the coin that I've given out to a number of people, and that's my Chief coin that I give out for recognition of excellent service. And as you go down this side, that's where I really get into much more of my legacy. This coin here is my oldest son Luke. He was recently commissioned, and that's his first salute coin to me, and which is very, very meaningful. We always want to see our kids exceed what we are and what we do, and he has done that. Because no matter what rank you're enlisted, even an ensign or a lieutenant, you call him sir. Down here we've got my youngest son, or my youngest boy. He was in the Army, and that was his unit coin. He decided to get out. He spent his about 4 years in and got out, and he's doing great right now. And then down below that, we have kind of represents my daughter and son-in-law. They met while he was at the detachment there at Oregon State University as an ROTC, and he and she are both in Boston, back at Hanscom Air Force Base right now. And he just made first lieutenant, so they're an Air Force couple. And then down below, this kind of gets outside of my family, and this coin here is very meaningful to me. It was given to me by Lieutenant Ken Arnst, And many of you might remember Ken and his time in the operations section at the 116th. Ken had kind of a troubled first part of his career, and there was a point where he just really wanted to get out of the Air Force and kind of do his own thing. And before the 2015 deployment, he and I had a real sit down and heart-to-heart talk, and decided that maybe there was a different plan for him. And I really encouraged him to take a look at his life and what he wanted to do, and how we might be able to change things. Well, after that, he really did have a change of heart, and he turned things around for himself, and he really started to take a wholehearted interest in his Air Force career and where that was going. And ultimately, I helped him get into a different unit, into what he really wanted to do. He wanted to do cyber attack, basically. I can't remember the exact name for that right now, but he is now a commissioned officer in that unit. And that was really a proud moment when he sent me that coin and just told me what I had meant to him in terms of getting his career on track. And that is just so meaningful. And because that's what this is all about, is I wanted to touch lives. And you guys are the reason that I did all of this stuff. It was to help you and to touch your life. And if I didn't do that, then man, I'm so sorry. Because that's really my goal, is to help you to advance your careers. So I've got one more piece that I wanted to finish up this segment. In my Chiefs pinning, I talked about a number of different things, but one of the things I talked about was a legacy from my father. And he had given me a pin, a name tag that he had worn when he was in the Air Force. It was a little bit yellowed and old, but it was still serviceable, and actually it's still the same name tag that we use today. And the tags are still on it. And today, I wanted to give this to my son, who is now currently serving in the Air Force. And Luke, from Grandpa Stan, so my father's name was also Stan. I just wanted to give this to Luke as, pass on legacy, and who knows, with any luck, maybe it'll go to his son too. I might have to get these repaired at some point, but anyway, Luke, there you go. Thank you. I love you, son. For being part of the Air Force, and wear it with pride and honor.
Wow.
Okay. So there's that piece. So kind of wanted to try to wrap it up here a little bit, but first is a little bit of advice. And I know you guys have heard this before, but I wanted to say it again because it's worth mentioning. When it came to being a chief, I never expected to be here. I fully expected to retire as a master, and I was happy to do so. But the one thing that I did is that I was always ready for the next step. No matter what, I was always ready. Even if there was no promotion on the horizon, even if there was nothing pending, and I just made that decision in my life to always be ready for the next step. Because if I figured I was ready and the opportunity presents itself, it was going to happen, or at least I would be ready for it. No, I was not going to be the obstacle that stood in the way of my own career. And I would give that advice to you. Always be ready for the next position, the next promotion, the next whatever it is. Just be ready. Because you never know when that opportunity is going to just jump up and be there. Colonel Mitchell asked me to be the headquarters superintendent. I did that. I was happy to do it. And then they tried to get me to be a chief, and I said no, actually not be a chief. They wanted me to be the operations superintendent. I was like, oh, another school, another this, another that. And it took them a year to convince me to do it. But I was ready. I'd already done my PME. I'd already done all those things that I had to do. And that's one of the reasons they asked me to do it, because I was ready. So if you do that, you can never blame yourself for not being ready. So please, just always be ready, because the Air Force needs you to be ready. And this unit needs to be ready. And if you do that, then you'll be serving not only yourself, but the unit as well. And those people around you. And it's those people around you that you want to be focused on. How can you help them? And sometimes it's being in that next rank, being in that next position, where you can be in a position to influence others and influence the people below you as well as above you. You know, always be a mentor. You know, that's just so important. Second, I just want to thank you for just making this journey for me what it has been. It's just been so important to me, and such a blessing to have all of you guys in my life during, you know, my 17 years. There's been so many people that have come and gone in the unit, just so many people. There's just such a small handful that have been, you know, they're there now, that have been there from the beginning. So just literally hundreds of people that have come and gone, and everybody's been a blessing in one way or another. You know, even those people you may not like so much, there's always something to learn from them. So just be ready for that. My goal is to touch your life in some way, and I haven't done that again. Like I said, I'm sorry, but I think that I have touched most people's lives. And, you know, I love you all, and I wish you the best. And if you're watching this before the video, before the drill, I plan on being there Saturday and to say some goodbyes in person for both the shifts, and I just I'm really looking forward to that time. But again, thank you, Colonel Nowak, for I'm sure you said some kind words, and if you didn't, well, I don't know what that's all about. But thank you again for just being there for me. Thank you everyone for being here today, and just thank you again just for making my journey such a blessed one.